Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a fascinating concept and breaking it all down so you can master it. We are looking at the wildly influential framework from Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Listen, if you're someone who feels just constantly overwhelmed by clutter, or maybe feel like you're completely failing at keeping your space organized, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, let's dive into this, because what we're going to explore today is a massive paradigm shift. We're going to take tidying up, something we normally view as this deeply mundane, totally frustrating chore, and we're going to elevate it to the level of high philosophy and personal spirituality. To get us there, we're going to follow a pretty straightforward roadmap. First, why we are all slobs. Second, the all-at-once mindset. Third, the spark joy filter. Fourth, the strict category sequence. And finally, the philosophy of letting go. Section 1, Why We're All Slobs. Time to unlearn that guilt. Right out of the gate, we've got to address the guilt you probably feel about your messy space. We need to actively normalize why you, and let's be real, pretty much everyone else, struggles with clutter. Seriously, I want you to ask yourself, how many cleaning classes did you take at the university? How about in preschool? The answer is zero, right? Nobody is professionally teaching us how to tidy in our culture. You are holding on to all this guilt for not knowing how to do something that literally no one ever formally taught you how to do. So do yourself a favor and let that guilt go right now. Our source material shares this hilarious and honestly highly relatable anecdote about a couple who just moved in together. They were both complete slobs, but they each secretly expected the other partner to know how to organize everything. When they realized neither of them had a clue, they had this total panicked oh no moment. So what did they do? Well, they immediately blamed their parents. But then the epiphany hit. Nobody taught their parents how to do this either. Tidying is simply not a passed down skill in our culture. For those of us who aren't naturally gifted housekeepers, we're essentially left to figure it out entirely on our own, which usually means we fail. So, the crucial point is that our current approach to cleaning is completely broken. Section 2, the all-at-once mindset. Rewiring your approach. The old way of cleaning, the way our parents probably told us to do it, is little by little, day by day. Just clean a little bit every day, right? Wrong. The source points out that if you take it day by day, you will never actually be clean and organized. And why is that? Because it's incredibly hard to form a new habit. Think about it. If you haven't been good at staying tidy up until this point in your life, developing a habit of tidying a little bit at a time is practically impossible. Instead, the Kondo way requires you to do it all in one go. Tidying is not an everyday chore, it is a special event. If you tidy up in one massive shot rather than little by little, you dramatically change your entire mindset. To make this habit actually stick, your brain needs to instantly see dramatic results and feel the immediate emotional effects of a truly clean space. You just can't get that profound psychological shift if you're only cleaning out one single drawer every Tuesday. Because this is a special event, it absolutely requires specific preparation. You need to set real time aside, ideally first thing in the morning when your mind is completely fresh. You should do this without music, which I know might sound surprising, but you need quiet to focus internally. Grab handfuls of garbage bags, because you are definitely going to need them. But most importantly, before you even start, you need to visualize the space you want. Flip through home and garden magazines, get a sense of the lighting, the layout. Ask yourself, why do I actually want to tidy? Ultimately, the goal is to be happy, and you need that visualization anchored in your mind before you even begin. Section 3, the spark joy filter. Curating your life. Let's move to and see how this builds into the core mechanics of the method. Because before you throw a single thing in a bag, you have to change your language and your focus. We are here to choose what we want to keep, not what we want to get rid of. This is a massive psychological pivot. Instead of looking at your room with this negative, discarding mindset, you're looking at it with a positive, life-affirming mindset. You're curating your life, not just taking out the trash. And how do we choose what to keep? By finding what sparks joy. Now, I know this is a huge pop culture catchphrase, but it's actually defined as a literal bodily reaction felt when touching an item. This method speaks directly to your emotional brain, the part of you that communicates in ideas, concepts, and symbols. The source actually compares it to sandbox therapy. It's not just a cute little phrase, it is a visceral, physical method of bypassing your logical brain, which, trust me, will try to invent reasons to keep useless things, and tapping straight into your core intuition. Which brings us to the golden rule. Does this spark joy? If it does, keep it. If not, dispose of it. The absolute key here is that you must take every single item into your hands. You literally cannot just scan a closet with your eyes. You have to physically touch the piece of clothing, hold the book, and wait for your body to react. If you feel that uplift, that little spark of joy, you keep it. If you don't, it goes straight in the bag. Now that we know exactly how to filter our items, we need to know what to filter and when. Section 4. The strict category sequence. Following the strict order. So this is where almost everyone fails. The fatal error is cleaning by location. You say to yourself, okay, today I'm going to clean the bedroom. Do not do this. This approach is literally fatal to the organization process because honestly, we don't store similar items in the same place. You probably have coats in the bedroom, coats in the hall closet, maybe even coats in the trunk of your car. If you clean by room, you're just going to be constantly shuffling the exact same types of clutter from room to room. You absolutely must clean by category. There is an exact, unalterable sequence you must follow. Clothes first, then books, then papers, then miscellaneous, and lastly, mementos. And this brilliantly illustrates why we do it this way, because clothes are the easiest to judge for joy, helping you hone your decision-making skills. Mementos, the deeply emotional items like old photographs and letters, those are the absolute hardest. If you start with mementos, you're going to spend 3 hours crying over old yearbooks and get absolutely no cleaning done. You have to build those decision-making muscles in this exact order. When you tackle a category, like clothing, you must take out every single item from every single room in the house and lay it all out in one giant spot. It is going to be a huge, super intimidating pile. And the rule is, if you forget something in a drawer and leave it behind, it automatically gets thrown away. You have to be ruthless. And here's a very practical, highly important warning for you. Do this alone. Do not include family members. If your mother or your spouse sees you throwing away a sweater they bought you for Christmas, they are going to guilt trip you and the whole process will completely derail. Remember, this is your personal journey. Section 5. The philosophy of letting go. When the physical turns inward. As you work through these categories, something genuinely magical starts to happen. The physical act of cleaning turns inward. I really want you to absorb this quote from the source. The work of carefully considering each object I own to see whether it sparks joy in me is like conversing with myself through the medium of my possessions. This is exactly why we do this alone, in the quiet of the morning, without any music. It is a highly personal, introspective form of therapy. You aren't just organizing your closet, you're actively confronting your past choices, your anxieties, and your personal attachments. Now, what's really interesting about this specific step is the animistic approach Kondo takes toward discarded items. When you decide an item doesn't spark joy, you don't just toss it in the trash. You actually speak to it. You literally say, "Thank you for giving me joy when I bought you," or "Thank you for teaching me what doesn't suit me." Every single object had a role to play in your life. Even if it was some ugly shirt you only wore once, well, its role was to teach you that you don't look good in that color. Acknowledging its contribution with gratitude is what frees you from the guilt of letting it go. And here is the absolute deepest realization of this entire explainer. Letting go of objects with gratitude perfectly mirrors letting go of incompatible relationships. Just as not every piece of clothing has come to you to be worn until it's falling apart, not every person you meet in life is meant to become a close, lifelong friend. Some people are hard to get along with, sure, but they teach you the precious lesson of what you do value in your real friends. Letting things go is really about choosing the life you actually want to lead. Which leaves us with this final thought today. By taking the time to physically touch your possessions, genuinely acknowledge their contribution, and let them go with true gratitude, you aren't just emptying a closet, you're putting your entire life in order. So I ask you, by letting go of the things that no longer serve you, what space will you create for the life you truly want to lead? Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today. I really hope you found this breakdown as transformative as I did, and I highly encourage you to take that very first step. Grab a bag and go find your joy.